सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ओम नमो ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्म विद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः। सर्वोपप्लवरहितः प्रज्ञानघनः प्रत्यगर्थो ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि। ओम शांति शांति शांति। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शंकरं लोकशंकरं। शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। We have seen earlier that knowledge is a means for moksha. And now the question comes, if knowledge is a means for moksha, then why should I perform karma? Why should I perform some actions? Which is the question, was the question of Arjuna all throughout Gita, if you look at it. Yet the same question. Tat kim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshava. Jayasi chit karmanaste mata buddhar janardana. After the second chapter, when Lord said, Esha brahmistatif partha nainam prapya vimuchyati. Having gained abidance in Brahman, knowing yourself to be what you are, you get liberated. And then Arjuna, you perform karma. So the question comes, if the knowledge is a means for moksha, if one gains clarity and or abidance to one's swarupa, he or she is free, then why should I act? One thing. Secondly, action is a natural expression of life. Any living being is alive as long as that living being is active, either voluntary actions or involuntary. Some activity takes place, some action takes place. Action is a mean, is a natural expression of our life. Now, that action generally binds, as we saw. If when performed with a sense of doership, those actions gives rise to karma phala, and because of kartritvam, doership, I become partaker of the result of action, pleasant, unpleasant, punya or papa. Here the role of Shastra comes in. Shastra tells us this, that perform action with a yoga buddhi. Thereby, those actions means perform pravritti with a yoga buddhi, which leads to nivritti and thereby to moksha. The actions which binds becomes a means for moksha if performed with proper attitude and performed with certain restraint. Why restraint? If I perform actions, if I do pravritti as per my whims and fancies, then the person goes to asurya namate lokaha andhena tamsa vritaha tamste pratyabhigachanti eke chatma hanojanaha, what was discussed in the third mantra. But the actions which are restrained means I don't go by my fancies, I go by my duties. And that is called dharma. When I commit myself to dharma and live a life of dharma means I become a dharmika and perform it with an attitude called yoga buddhi, which we shall see some other time if I take up Gita. That pravritti leads to nivritti. That pravritti, that action takes it to nivritti, and thereby one discovers, one discerns the fundamental problem, discovers vairagya, and then moksha becomes a pursuit. These two purusharthas, dharma and moksha, are deliberate purusharthas. The first two, artha and kama purushartha, are natural. One needs to pursue dharma. That is the role of your will. The will power that you have is to be used to become a dharmikaha, and a dharmikaha alone becomes mumuksha. In between, dharmika with yoga buddhi becomes viraktaha, and that virakta becomes a mumukshu, and ultimately that mumukshu gains moksha. This is the scheme of Shastra. This is the vision of Upanishad. This is the essence of Vedas. Or this is the purpose of Hindu way of living. Again, by the way, I would like to add here, in India also it's very prevalent conclusion, belief. Even our Supreme Court has said this, that Hinduism is a way of life. Please understand, way of life is there. True, I agree, it's a way of life. But that way of life is not an end in itself. One thing, for that matter, every religion prescribes a way of life. and the end is different. And for all of them, except Hindu Dharma, is something hereafter. One should be faithful and go to prayer church and do prayers and this and that. All this is meant to go to heaven after death. So also, our Dharma talks of way of life, but the moksha is an end which is not to be achieved hereafter, which is to be gained here, right now and here, as you are. That is the purpose of it. That's how the lifestyle is given. Not understanding this or not having clarity about it, or some acharyas don't agree to this, and especially the disciples of Jaimini, or you can say Karmakandis, even a general belief. People say you must do seva. There are some cults here, some sampradayas, they tell we have become sadhu only to do seva. That is what indoctrination given to them. You wear these ochre clothes to do seva only, and you must do the seva. Nothing wrong in doing seva, but to do seva you don't need these clothes. You can, without becoming a sannyasi, you can do seva. Anyway, coming back to this, so there is a vakya right in the opening of Jaimini. You know, amna yasya kriyarthatvat anarthakyam adadarthanam. Amnaya means Veda is kriyarthatvat. Veda is the essence of Veda. The purpose of Veda is kriya, activity. One must act. Kurvanneveha karmani. One should act all the life. So the purpose of life is karma. That's what people think. And they think we are successful. Living is successful only when we keep performing karmas. Do some good karma, which is undefined, good adjective. What is good, it is there good, but keep doing good karmas. Now, Upanishad says, good karma, agreed, one should do that, but that's not the end in itself. The essence of Upanishad is Isha Vasyam Idam Sat. This is fact. Whatever is non-separate from Ishvara. Whatever is manifestation of Ishvara. And that word whatever is includes I and you also. Because I is who is non-separate from Ishvara. Discovering this fact is a message. Therefore, the Upadesha is Tattvamasi. You are that. That truth. Isha Vasyam. Whatever is that is non-separate from Isha, that is you. That is the Upadesha. And that is to be discovered. This is something to be known. No amount of action can lead to this. Therefore, earlier it was said, Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhut vijanatah tatra ko mohak kashokaha ekatvam anupashyat. I see the differences. I see duality. That duality causes shoka, bhaya, etc., worry, stress, etc. That is born out of moha, not knowing myself. And that bhaya, shoka, moha can never ever go unless I gain knowledge. Like even a snake that you see in place of rope. The snake is born out of ignorance. And that is moha. Taking a rope to be snake, and then there is a fear, there is anxiety, there is a tendency to run away, etc. All that is born because of moha. The vision is Tattvamasi. And to discover that, as I said, there is a lifestyle given by Vedas, you know. And this one should know. Only the knowledge cooks the goose of ahankara individually. The purpose of karma is only this. Generally, we think the purpose of karma is to achieve what I want, to gain what I want. But that's not true purpose. Purpose of karma is to gain necessary antahkarana shuddhi, necessary frame of mind. Which frame of mind? That non-becoming mind, non-wanting mind. What they call it as an abiding mind. In Sanskrit they call it antarmukha manaha. The mind which is introvert, which is self-abiding, relatively self-contained, relatively self-satisfied mind. Not so much of pressure here to achieve this and do this, and pressure born out of non-self-acceptance. So many things are there in my life which I just don't like it. My prarabdha, ultimately. Typical Indian would say, my luck is bad, my karma is bad. And if one knows little astrology, then my Rahu Ketu is creating problem. But you only prompted Rahu Ketu to create problem, my dear sir. It is you who did those karmas by which Rahu and Ketu became active, by which Shani became active. So whatever it is, accept it and live life. That is non-acceptance of as I am. The purpose of karma is that you gain abiding mind, accepting mind, which accepts the life as it is and which lives in the awareness of Ishvara. The karma phaladata, karma dhakshaha, that is called yoga buddhi. What is yoga buddhi? You live in awareness of Ishvara. In other words, a bhakta, not doing bhakti confined to puja and japa and upasanas and yatra and some stotra part, etc. But even while working, while performing one's own duty, he is like that. To such a person, that becoming is less, because achieving is less. Very few things I want to achieve, because I don't want to become that. That is a vairagya. A viraktaha is non-wanting to become. You know, I don't want to become this and that and that. And Vairaktaha is relatively self-satisfied, self-contained person. And accepts himself or herself as it is, relatively. To that person, you know, when there is a Vairagya, one later on discovers moksha. And to that person, Shastra sanctions a lifestyle of complete withdrawal from activity. That is called sannyasa. Sannyasa ashrama. What I termed yesterday, vividisha sannyasa. Veditum ichchaya krita sannyasa. I don't want anything from the world. To that person, Shastra gives that you need not give back to the world. Means there is no duties. He is absolved from all kinds of duties. And there is a sanction. The same Shastra which tells one must perform duties. Akarane pratyavaya. If you don't perform your duties, there is a dosha. Same Shastra which talks like this tells if there is a vairagya, if there is a maturity, you can give up. And to lead up to that is the purpose of karma. To create a vairagya, to give rise to vairagya, and thereby moksha, and thereby desire for sannyasa. To that person, karma has fulfilled its purpose. The objective of being a karma yogi stands fulfilled. This person, so the importance or necessity of pravritti is there till you are brought to nivritti. Nivritti parayana jivanam. A lifestyle of self-withdrawal, lifestyle of pursuit of knowledge at the exclusion of everything else. That lifestyle. Now, and the one who has discovered the self to be akarta, the self to be actionless, is a wise person. That person also is called sannyasi, and the Shastric word is vidvat sannyasa. The sannyasa born out of knowledge. In case of vidvat sannyasi, there is absence of karma. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavit. 5th chapter. Guna guneshu vartante iti matvana sajjate. 3rd chapter. All Gita verses are there. There is a abhava of karma. To achieve that, if there is a abhava of karma, why? Because there is a abhava, absence of karta. The doer is falsified. The ahankara is falsified. It was false, not even falsified. Discovered to be false. And then he knows that I am not this. The status of doership, the status of kartrutvam, the status of ahankara is incidental. Like beggar is falsified. The beggarness for an actor is incidental. What is the incident? I am wearing the robe, dress and playing the robe. That's incident. I chose to be like that. And as long as I am on the stage, as long as I am wearing this, I have to play. That is falsification of ahankara, mithyatva. This is a fact. This is natural for the wise person. Even while doing, he knows this incidental status of action. Like even while expressing oneself as a beggar, speaking the beggarly dialogues. The actor is aware that I am not a beggar. That's a sahaja. It's a nature. To gain that, a seeker called Jignasu is striving. The one who is striving to gain that with a committed lifestyle, nothing else, at the exclusion of everything else. I want only this. That person, that Jignasu or that lifestyle is called sannyasa. Vividisha sannyasa. That is nature, that's a value. So there is a karma abhava. Which karma abhava? Kartavya karma abhava. In case of wise person, there is a kartrutva abhava, absence of doership, which is falsified. Here he or she deliberately gives up karma to ultimately give up the karta, to ultimately give up the doer. He does the karma. What karma? Guru Shushrusha and Shastra, Abhyasa, Shravana, Manan, Nitidhyasana, etc. only. And that freedom to give up, that sanction by the Shastra is given to one who has Jignasa and Vairagya, or Mokshecha and Vairagya. And that is gained by life of karma, performed with attitude of yoga. Yoga buddhya, committed to dharma. That person is given that freedom. Now, please understand one more thing. There is something more which is also necessary for gaining knowledge. One may have a matured mind. One may have a mind which may be non-demanding, wanting to pursue moksha. But then the restlessness of the mind may be there. The Rajoguna may be powerful. But which Rajoguna? Rajoguna backed by Sattva. Taken to sannyasa, but then mind is wandering all over. Taken to sannyasa, but can't sit quiet. Taken to life of sannyasa, want to do something, seva or guru seva or ashram seva, want to do this, achieve this kind of thing. Who's target-oriented person. Taken to sannyasa, want to do some seva. That kind of. That means there is relative withdrawal from physical karmas. Other karma is manasa karma. Physical restlessness can be restrained, not manasa restlessness. More so, driven by emotions. Certain emotions, certain moods drives the person. Some cobwebs of emotions are left over. Some unconscious issues, childhood issues are there, which needs to be addressed. That is called, one need to have chitta aikagram, focused mind, and a subtle mind. Some degree of subtlety also is necessary. When that subtlety is not there, it may be difficult to understand the Shastras. And it may be difficult to hold on to vision of Shastras because of mental restlessness. So another thing that is to be done is gaining focused mind, chitta ekagram, and for that some upasanas are necessary. Don't translate upasana as meditation. Upasana means it involves Ishvara. Upa samipe, Ishvarasya samipe asana. Some japa, mental puja, or some mental bhajan or stotra, etc., by which you develop certain subtlety, and to some extent one gains a mind which is subtle. You require a very subtle mind to understand Shastra. And that you understand only when you have a subtle mind. Why? Because people come and tell you, oh, I heard Swamiji and he said like this. You wonder, when did I say like this? Just did not understand what I wanted to convey, because mind is too gross. So, Manasa Upasana is necessary. Now here, in this next section, why I have been discussing all this about karma and jnanam, because in the next 6 mantras, there is a discussion about karma, means physical karma, dharma karma, and upasanas as well. There is a discussion about lifestyle committed to dharma and lifestyle committed to upasana. And Shastra says you should have both. The first set of 3 mantras, next 3 mantras, that means we have seen these mantras so far. After that, 3 mantras is talking about karma and upasana samuchayam. 2 things. 9, 10 and 11 is talking about karma and upasana. Emphasizing the need that both are necessary. And next 3 mantras, 12, 13 and 14, talks of 2 types of upasana, vyakta upasana, avyakta upasana. I have discussed about this upasana in detail when I taught Upadesha Sara. Saguna Brahma Vishayaka Dhyanam Sajatiya Vritti Pravaha Rupaha Vijatiya Vritti Rahitaha Saguna Brahma Vishayaka Manasa Vyaparaha Upasana. Mental activity is upasana. But what kind of mental activity? Worry is also mental activity. Anger is also mental activity. Depression is also mental activity. I understand yesterday or day before there was World Mind Health Day or something. Nowadays all kinds of days are there. And so many people wrote, I am depressed and I have these, and then it was big shock and surprise to people at large because celebrities have these problems. Anyway, so that is also mental activity, anyway, these psychological problems. But when it is said, Manasa Vyapara for what? What is the center of those thoughts? What are the mental activity regarding what? Saguna Brahma Vishaya. Regarding Ishvara. So Upasana necessitates Ishvara. It involves Ishvara. And that is why called Upasana. Upa Samipe Asanam. Being closer to Ishvara. Mental. And there are different types of Upasana. Vyakta Upasana. That is being discussed. When we'll come to those mantras, we will talk about that. So 12, 13 and 14 mantra number talks about Vyakta and Avyakta Upasana. 9, 10 and 11 is talking about Karma and Upasana, Samuchaya together. Please understand this. There is a lot, why there is a need to discuss all this. Shankaracharya ji goes in very detail, at length. He talks about the nature of karma and nature of gnanam. The role of karma and the role of gnanam. All that is talked about in detail in Upanishad Bhashya. Shruti, then he introduces Shruti mantra. This is how he introduces, not then. This is how he introduces these mantras. And then he gives his commentary upon those mantras. One thing one should know, that these two things, knowledge and karma, cannot go together. Why it cannot go together? Because karmas are performed in Dvaita. There is a duality of karta, karma, and the means, karanam, etc. Subject, object, and the means, etc. So, karma is possible only when there is duality that is accepted. Even in Upasana, there is Upasakaha and there is Upasya. That if I would use this word just to explain you, though it's not a correct translation. There is meditator and there is meditated. Object of meditation and the subject of meditation, and there is a process of meditating. So that meditating is possible when there is subject and object, meditator and meditated. Two things are necessary. Then only it is possible. So karma takes place in Dvaitam. And there is a karma phalam also, which is separate from me, the subject. The karta, the meditator, upasaka, karmasya karta, sharirika karmasya karta ya manasika karmasya karta. Karta is there. And therefore there is a karma phalam and there is a means to enjoy karma phalam and means to perform karmas. What is called as karakaha. All those karakaha, vibhaktaya, prathama, dvitiya, tritiya, etc. is involved in it. Then only karma is possible. The result of karma is something which is unattained, aprapta, which is different from me and I have to gain it. And the phalam of knowledge is, so in karma, the result, the phalam is not gained. Even antakarana shuddhi is something I have not. Chitta ekagram, I don't have, I have to gain it. That's a phalam. It's away. So that is apraptasya prapti. Gaining something which is not gained now, which is not with me now. I have to gain it by putting some efforts. I have to achieve it by doing something. Whereas the phalam of knowledge is I have to gain something that which already is with me. Ananda or the self is with me. So the phalam of the gnanam is praptasya praptihi, gaining something which is already gained, was thought to be not gained, was thought to be not with me. By knowledge you discover, oh, I have it. Whereas karma, there is apraptasya prapti. You gain something which is not there with you. And when the karma karta is there, there will be bhokta also. The one who is enjoyer of karma phala. The doer means the other side of the doer. You know, like other side of the coin. The other side of the doer is enjoyer. In fact, the same karta becomes bhokta when that karta gains karma phala. So if you perform karma, karta bhokta continues. They become stronger, in fact. They become consolidated, or you can say solidified. Karta bhokta, they become. And the knowledge is just opposite. It just destroys the very subject. The knowledge is to falsify or to discover that I am not karta. And since I am not karta, I am not even bhokta. I am neither doer nor enjoyer. That being a case, the action and knowledge cannot go together. You cannot have gnana karma samuchaya. No, they cannot be together. They are quite separate. They are independent, opposite direction. And that is what is being talked here. The karma and karma phalam, the karta and the bhokta are in a way censured. The purpose is not simply to censure them. Purpose of this mantra is to help us discover that if you keep performing karma, you can never gain moksha. Karma phala will come, and according to karma phala, new janma and the cycle of birth and death will continue. And not only it will continue, that karta is, knowledge is opposed to karta, and karta is opposed to knowledge. Therefore, as a preliminary, Shastra gives a lifestyle of relatively giving up karma. To discover ultimately that I am not even karta. So, gnana karma samuchaya is not possible. By nature, they are opposite to each other, and the phalam of both is also opposite to each other. Karma is born out of, it is insufficiency. It is born in duality and sustains the duality, whereas the knowledge destroys the duality. And it leads to discovering oneness. And that is the Swarupa. of you, the subject, the who, the karta, bhokta. That is its swarupa. Now, all these discussions are there in next section, and this word, there are not only you have to understand these mantras properly, the language is also different. You know, the Shruti tells karma, they uses the word vidya and avidya for karma and upasana. Also, sambhuti and asambhuti. For that also vidya and avidya words are used. You have to see the context, you see the whole picture, and then interpret the words. This is where Guru becomes necessary. This is where parampara becomes necessary, tradition. You can interpret the mantra only when you have a vision of the whole. And that vision of the whole, one cannot have by oneself. The teacher has it, and with the vision of the whole, teacher knows the context of a given mantra, and teacher knows the meaning of the given word with reference to context and with reference to the whole. As I have said earlier, the word yoga is used with different meanings in different chapters, in different contexts. Yoga yukto prashantatma vijitatma vigatabihi tam vidyat dukkha sanyoga viyogam yoga yukta, etc. So many shlokas are. So traditional teachers become necessary to understand the context and exact meanings of these words. Please understand. The Ishavasya Upanishad, you cannot translate and read by simply having dictionary translation. No. Upanishadic mantras, Upanishadic words needs to be interpreted properly. So the Vachyartha, the Brahman cannot be the Vachyartha of any Vakya or any Shabda. So also knowledge is not the Vachyartha of these mantras. There also you have to have Lakshyartha. And in the next section, there is a censure of karma and upasana and sambhuti, asambhuti, upasana. Listen this. The objective is not to censure something. Please understand. Nothing is useless and nothing is bad. Only thing is, we have to have viveka, sadhana sadhya viveka. Everything is sadhanam. That's all. There is nothing wrong in having money. People think that I become virakta only when I don't keep money. Why? Money is not a problem. Your attitude is a problem. Your way of looking at money is a problem. Money, when it becomes an end in itself, is a problem. Power, sense objects, you can have. What's wrong in it? Just because I am a sannyasi, I cannot keep mobile. That too iPhone, you should not keep. Swamiji, you are a virakta. You are a sannyasi. Nothing wrong in using the phone. Swamiji, you are a virakta. You are given up home and now you are keeping ashramam. You are now doing management of the home and office, your business, and now you are managing the ashram. What's the difference? No, there is a hell of a difference. That time that business and the home and which I was managing was an end by itself, or money was an end by itself. Today it is a means for survival and for spreading knowledge. That's all. It is not an end in itself. So sadhana sadhya vivekaha. Discrimination regarding what is a means and what is an end. Whenever there is a censure in Shastra, it is not that vastu itself is bad to be discarded. No. Idea is that is not an end in itself. That's all. Arthakama also is not an end in itself. Even dharma also is not an end in itself. Marriage is also not an end in itself. Marriage is also means for dharma. Therefore, there is a word for husband and wife. Sah dharmachari and sah dharmacharini. Sah together, committed to lifestyle of dharma. So dharma is an end for married person. But dharma itself is not an end. Dharma is a means for nivrutti. Nivrutti is not an end. Vairagya is not an end in itself. Vairagya is a means for mokshecha. Mokshecha is not an end in itself. That is a means to gain knowledge, jnana. Then teacher is also not an end in itself. Teacher is a means for doing shravana, manana, nididhyasanam. That is not an end in itself. That is discovering that aham brahmasmi, for brahmakar vritti. That is the end. And is moksha. Keeping in view the end, ultimate end, there is nothing wrong in pursuing few ends. But I should never take them as end in itself. That's a message. With this background, I just stop here. Please go through it because it's little confusing, next 6 mantras, if not interpreted properly or understood properly. And it has confused many acharyas. That's how commentaries are. Very great people, very learned people. Jaimini Rishi was not an ordinary person. He wrote all the commentaries on Veda. Veda Vyasi wrote Brahma Sutra and he wrote Dharma Sutras. But then thought this, Amnayasya Kriyarthatvat. Veda is, life is meant only for activity, pravritti, not nivritti. And anything that doesn't connect to activity, anarthakyam atadarthanam. It is just useless utterances when it doesn't push you to action. Confusion. So, next week we will continue this discussion. We will little just summarize it and then we will come back to Shastra. Okay, next Saturday we'll see. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.